The second Trump administration has passed its 100-day mark, and with it came a change in how America views migration.
This is an executive order entitled Protecting the American People Against Invasion.
Since returning to office, President Trump has signed numerous executive orders clamping down on immigration.
The messaging was very clear. You are not wanted.
In the wake of sweeping immigration crackdowns, will Asian talent still be drawn to America?
It does feel unsafe in this country. It is not a great time to be here.
In a quiet neighborhood of Delhi, India, this temple, dedicated to the Hindu god Hanuman, has earned a new nickname, the Visa Temple.
तो मैं बताऊं चमत्कारिक हनुमान मंदिर इसलिए कहते हैं क्योंकि ये सिर्फ वीज़ा के लिए नहीं है। अगर आपके अंदर कोई भी मनोकामना है, आप आइए, भगवान के सामने हाथ जोड़िए, अपनी अर्जी डालिए और वो ज़रूर से ज़रूर पूरी होगी।
Across India, temples like this have become pilgrimage sites for prospective workers, students, and entire families. Today, Vikas Anand has come to pray that his visa to the United Kingdom will be granted. Before him, his brother found success in his visa application to the United States after visiting the temple.
तो उनके सामने जो 2-3 लोग थे, उनका रिजेक्ट हुआ था। मेरे भाई जब काउंटर पे गए, उनका वहीं पे अप्रूव भी हो गया था। तो डिपेंड करता है कि आप मैं क्या बोलूँ, मतलब यूएस का थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट है in comparison to other countries.
India is the second largest source of migrants to America after Mexico. Indians make up about 6% of foreign-born residents in the US. These days, however, would-be migrants could find more obstacles in their paths since President Donald Trump's return to the White House. In his first week, Trump issued several executive orders expanding deportations, cutting legal protections, and reinstating travel bans.
The whole signing of these executive orders have had a serious impact around the globe. The messaging was very clear. You are not wanted.
As far as immigration is concerned, this question of border security, this question of ensuring that illegals are not, there's not a flood of illegals coming in, is very much front and center for the Trump administration.
On February 6th, that message made landfall in India. 104 deportees arrived on a single flight, the first of what would become a larger wave of supposed illegal Indian migrants deported. Among them were Harvinder Singh, an undocumented migrant.
हमारे उधर हमारे हाथों में हथकड़ी, पैरों में हथकड़ी लगाकर, तो उसने हमको बोला कि आप कैंप पर जा रहे हैं, लेकिन कैंप पर नहीं भेजा उसने। हम एयरपोर्ट पे लेकर गए तो जहाज में हमें बैठा दिया, कहते हैं आप इंडिया जा रहे हो।
These removal proceedings or these deportation actions from the United States are happening very, very quickly, and they're happening one after another and in large numbers.
These removals are in line with the hardline immigration pledge President Trump has championed since his campaign trail.
When I win on November 5th, the migrant invasion ends and the restoration of our country begins.
The whole idea, not just that foreigners are coming and, taking jobs, eating into welfare, whatever it is, but foreigners also being a risk, if not a threat, to national security.
The administration has cited national security concerns over the illegal entry of undocumented migrants as a core reason for the deportations.
Not saying everybody that crosses the border is a criminal in any capacity, but illegal immigrants have murdered people, have raped people, have killed people drunk driving with cars, killed young people. 82% of American people want anybody here illegally that commits a crime to be deported.
So prior to this administration taking over, we had a significant amount of trafficking, human trafficking coming across the border. And mainly, it happens all throughout the district.
Scott Gray is a Republican assemblyman from New York. He has seen the impact of open borders up close. In the last couple of years, New York City struggled with a migrant crisis as other states bussed migrants to the metropolis. This left the city struggling to house the newcomers.
That was causing a great deal of concerns and problems and first responders issues and stuff like that along the northern border. And it is down substantially on the northern border.
However, critics say the current immigration policies do not give migrants due process.
There is a higher risk that some of these deportations and removal actions will take place without an opportunity for undocumented individuals to make their case in any way with an immigration judge or an immigration court. I think that the Trump 2.0 administration has actually changed the landscape pretty significantly, primarily in the form of like a culture of fear, basically. Not just for undocumented workers, but for legal immigration and visa holders as well.
But the immigration dragnet is snaring more than undocumented migrants. Even those who have come to the US on valid visas find themselves in jeopardy. On April 19th, the Trump administration revoked the visas of more than 1,000 international students, citing undisclosed national security concerns. Many learned of their status change only after being locked out of the university system, known as SEVIS, or contacted and arrested by ICE, the US Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
I think there are different levels of things that are out of our control that are happening that are making international students like me scared right now in the US. No matter what visa you have, it can just be revoked by the State Department if they want to.
Neeraja Kulkarni came to the US in 2022 to pursue a master's degree. After a stint as a design researcher in India's clean energy sector.
I was thinking I will study for 16 months and I will work here for 2-3 years, get experience and then head back to India to support the development sector again.
Asia is the largest source of international students to the United States. India and China alone make up more than half of American universities' overseas enrollment. For Neeraja, the US was more than a place of study. It was a global hub, a launch pad to do meaningful work in clean energy.
I came to the US to get education and exposure because at that point I thought the US has the most influential effect in global politics. Here you go.
Neeraja graduated in December 2023 and found work through the OPT, or the Optional Practical Training Program. It allows international students in the US to work in their field of study for up to 1 year after graduation. She was eventually accepted as an intern in a think tank in Washington, D.C.
When the OPT period starts, every student goes through this harrowing process where they are extremely stressed and they usually cannot really enjoy their lives for at least 3 to 4 months when they don't have a job.
At the end of her OPT year, her employer must sponsor a full-time work visa so she can stay on. But Neeraja is having second thoughts.
It does feel unsafe in this country because the US is not just regressing right now, it is a rogue nation and it is not a great time to be here.
For years, the US has consistently ranked as the top global destination for higher education. In Beijing, China, 17-year-old Li Xiaoxing had always hoped to study stateside.
因为美国是一个多元化的一个地方，然后呢，它有这种无限可能嘛。美国就跟另一个地球，地球上另一个地球一样，我那种感觉，你就能有更多的阅历、更多的经验，然后能让你甚至可能在就是将来世界各地的这个就业上都有很大的帮助。
上学这件事儿，还是这个坚定自己的这个想法的，是吧？
嗯。小时候经常我爸妈会带我去美国旅行，然后我在那边去过很多这种主题公园，像乐高公园、迪士尼或者那个环球影城。我在那边就是这些主题公园里感觉就非常的快乐。然后当时我小时候就觉得这么好的地方，我以后我上学我天天都在这个地方待着。
Xiaoxing is due to graduate high school next year, but now he's uncertain about his American ambitions. In March, a Republican congressman proposed a bill to stop the issuance of visas to Chinese students.
就那天晚上选总统的时候，我记得特清楚。最后特朗普上来了，然后上来马上就提了那个提案，就是对留学生非常不好的那种签证的那个提案。然后我就我就是真特害怕，因为我从1年级到现在，我一直学的都是就是国际的课程，所以可以说我没有回头路，我只有上美国这条路。所以如果说哪天特朗普就因为一句话，然后我这条路走不了了，那我真不知道我应该怎么办。
Last October, in a survey of 600 prospective international students, over 4 in 10 said they were less likely to consider studying in the US under a Trump presidency. In a more recent survey by an international education services company, a majority of students say their impression of the US had improved after the election. However, almost 2/3 would change their views if the US imposed travel bans.
You will not only see potential students from overseas do a double take in terms of whether or not they want to go there. You will see Americans or US-based students also considering the possibilities and prospects of leaving that environment.
The students from abroad contribute significantly towards the American economy because they are money bags who come in. As much as the students need that kind of education, US needs these students also.
How are America's shifting immigration rules reshaping the lives of those who once believed they belonged? Washington, D.C.-based immigration lawyer Johnny Lin begins most days shuttling between courthouses.
This is a final hearing for an asylum client, so he came through the southern border and sought asylum with the immigration court.
Johnny's client claims he's facing persecution in his country of origin for his sexual orientation. Every year, thousands attempt to cross via Mexico into the US. Johnny's client made this journey in 2022. Here's how the asylum process works. Immigrants enter at a point of entry without documentation. They must then declare their intent to seek asylum and let the courts decide on their application, during which time US law allows them to stay as their case is being reviewed.
I'm not sure how that's going to go. We might get a decision today, we might not.
According to the US Office of Homeland Security, the US receives about 1 million asylum seekers each year. A significant number comes from Asia. The largest number of asylum seekers are from China, typically claiming political or religious persecution at home. Many others are from war-torn countries like Afghanistan and Myanmar. The hearing for Johnny's client lasts 5 hours.
That's my client up there. We just lost the case. He's pretty upset, so he's not willing to talk right now. The judge did enter a removal order for him today, so he is technically ordered removed from the United States. The decision today is the opinion of this specific judge.
Okay.
So once we file the appeal, the evidence is going to go to a different judge, and they're going to look at everything.
Okay.
Yeah. Since the new administration came in, the past few months, we've been getting an increased amount of phone calls. They're mainly from people who have been detained in immigration detention.
Under the Trump administration, asylum has become significantly harder to claim. Policies have narrowed eligibility criteria. While asylum seekers were previously allowed to live in the US while their cases were processed, they are now subject to detention.
These are just a few of our cases in the past few months, and we have more behind me in these cabinets over here.
Even Afghan refugees are at risk. Some were forced to flee after the US withdrawal and Taliban takeover. The Biden administration allowed them to stay in America under authorized emergency programs meant to offer safety and a fresh start. But under Trump, even those once welcomed are no longer assured of residency.
President signed an order to cancel humanitarian furloughs for some countries, and it may add Afghanistan to it as well. When humanitarian furlough people came here legally, with this executive order, they means they are not here illegally anymore.
Freshte Ganjavi, a former refugee herself, now advocates for their right to stay.
Let us not forget, there were a lot of peoples, a lot of Afghans in Afghanistan, in Iraq, came with the SI visa here.
The SI visa, or Special Immigrant Visa, is for Afghans and Iraqis who worked with the US military or government during the war on terror. It offers permanent residency in exchange for their services, often as interpreters or local staff. Deportation back to Afghanistan could mean certain death.
They help America. Now they need help. I don't think it's going to be fair to keep them behind the doors in Mexico when they come here, not give them documentation.
While President Trump's immigration policies thus far mostly focused on undocumented migrants and asylum seekers, at the other end of the social spectrum, there is also disquiet. High-skilled visa holders, too, face anxiety over their immigration status.
One thing that has happened, however, as a result of recent actions is that H-1B visa holders who have already had the visa approved on their behalf have sought re-entry into the United States and have been turned away and have had that visa revoked. And that has been surprising to some, because these are not necessarily individuals that fit within the definition of undocumented.
The H-1B visa is a U.S. work visa that allows employers to hire highly educated foreign professionals in specialty occupations like technology, engineering, finance, and healthcare. Each year, the U.S. government caps the number of new H-1B visas at 65,000. with an additional 20,000 available for individuals holding advanced degrees from U.S. institutions. Chinese and Indians take up the most H-1B visas.
I was interning at this really famous and well-known think tank in Washington, D.C. But after the internship, it was really difficult to get a job that was sponsoring my H-1B, especially in the development sector. I would say the changes in the new administration that have led to this suspension in the decisions of this overall sector and if they can hire international students on that level.
Faced with these challenges, Niraja has made a decision to leave the United States. She will return to India with her degree and hefty student debt.
If I was doing a job in the US, it would have been easier and faster to pay back the loan. But the point of decision for me to go back came with the kind of job I want to do and the kind of life I want to live, and be more safe and certain and support my people more.
Niraja's friend, Amritika, came to the US for her master's degree in a non-STEM field. She graduated last December and found a job almost immediately. Yet, her employer has not moved forward with the H-1B application.
When I came to US, it was a different administration. The rules were different. Also, the job market was different. So I would say that sitting in India, I got a rosier picture than it is right now, and that can be true for any country.
Where President Trump stands on skilled labor is unclear. During his first term, he criticized the H-1B program, saying it took jobs from American workers. He suspended new applications in 2020 during COVID.
I think one understanding that some people have that are on a specific side of this debate is that immigrants end up taking US jobs.
Yet, President Trump appears to have flipped on his view. Last December, after his electoral victory, Trump said in the phone interview that he's a believer in the H-1B, calling it a great program. Trump's ally, Elon Musk, also championed the visa. Tech giants like Tesla are the largest beneficiaries of the program. Amazon, Google, Meta, Microsoft, and Apple are among the top sponsors of H-1B visas.
If an H-1B visa holder who is also a high-skilled immigrant decides not to come to the United States and work elsewhere, then it's actually going to be another country that is reaping the benefits of that investment. Examples of that investment include the fact that more than half of companies in the US that are valued at $1 billion or more were actually founded by immigrants or children of immigrants.
The president talked about, finding a path for these individuals who are gainfully employed and contributing to the economy to remain in the workforce. And I think that is what I support going forward. He's affirmed his support for that type of activity. So I think we have to find a way to keep some of those people, as long as they're not a risk to the community, keep them gainfully employed.
There is yet one more piece of Trump's migration policy that could deter skilled foreign labor. Married couple Amit Pandey and Sakshi Tripathi are working professionals on H-1B visas. They are originally from India. Amit codes by day.
So I'm an H-1B guy. Do you know what H-1B is? I think you guys know where it's going, right? Okay, cool. So I'm a robber, a thief. I steal jobs.
And perform stand-up comedy by night. But the current climate has left him and his wife little to laugh about. In particular, the Trump administration wants to end birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship is the automatic conferring of US citizenship to children born on American soil, irrespective of the parents' immigration status.
I was quite disappointed to know that this rule will come out soon and my children would not be getting US citizenship and the rights that US citizens and their children are getting here.
On January 20th, President Trump issued an executive order to suspend birthright citizenship.
This principle is enshrined in our Constitution and it's been upheld by over 100 years of legal precedent, and that's what's being challenged by Trump's executive order.
It's ridiculous. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know.
The effect is children born in the United States, those children would essentially be stateless until their parents took some sort of proactive steps or measures to get some sort of alternative citizenship for them. It's very, very concerning to have a child born and not be a citizen of anywhere.
I was totally angry. I was angry about it. I was like, he should not do this. Why is he doing this?
Trump's executive order is currently being challenged in court.
We are thrilled that the judge issued a temporary restraining order directing the United States government to take no further action in enforcing and implementing the unconstitutional and un-American executive order attempting to eliminate birthright citizenship in America.
The outcome of the hearing could give skilled Asian migrants pause if there is no pathway to citizenship for their children. For Amit and Sakshi, they've put their pregnancy plans on hold.
One of the big factors that people consider when they move countries, that okay, what's the citizenship of their next progeny is gonna be, and I would say it was one of the factors for me too, because I have gone through a lot in the Indian, system and society, and having gone through all of that, I wouldn't want my next generation to go through all of that.
If Asian workers and students are now reluctant to come to Trump's America, what impact will this have on the country? In his first 100 days in office, President Trump has revoked more than 4,000 student visas on the grounds of criminal activity. The move triggered a wave of legal challenges from universities and civil rights groups.
One thing that's important to call out is that the tightening of rules, but also the taking away of certain protections, is actually resulting in quite a bit of an economic but also cultural detriment in the United States. Well, there's a culture of fear that's taking place as a result of these policies, and that culture of fear is going to have reverberations to individuals who are currently outside of the country who may want to come to the United States to visit. They may want to come to the United States to study. They may want to come to the United States to work. These are all things that our economy depends on.
International students contribute over $40 billion to the US economy annually. Every 3 international students creates 1 job in America through their tuition fees and demand for goods and services.
The dependence on students coming from abroad in the US is very heavy. So for Indian students, very well-to-do students will go to the US or UK or Canada. So anything that has a fear factor or a threat is going to have severe impact on the educational system of US itself, because that big chunk of money that's coming from Indian students will stop. And that stops innovation.
The current administration has tightened visa requirements, including tighter scrutiny of an applicant's social media presence. The State Department had threatened students with deportation for pro-Palestinian activism.
So when a student is applying to the US or anywhere abroad, especially these days, the first advice I give them is stay off social media. Stay away from your Facebook account. Don't post anything on Facebook. Long time ago, we used to say Americans are so liberal. You could do anything in America. You can do this, you can do that. No, that has changed.
Asia is the largest source of international students to the US. India and China top the list, while South Korea, Vietnam, Taiwan, and Japan are major origin countries. Popular fields of study include engineering and computing. In Beijing, 17-year-old Xiaoxing has spent his entire education preparing for one goal: to study in the US. He has made multiple applications for a US student visa to study in American college prep schools.
当时我们3次拒签之后，然后我妈就连续不高兴了几天。
Xiaoxing is giving it one last shot in May. Should his visa application fail again, he and his family will have to make alternate plans.
说实在不行，咱去法国也行。所以说我就按照我妈的那个想法，然后她给我报了一个法语课，然后每周6我都去上。虽然说挺累的，真挺累的，因为周6我要上5、6个小时的法语课，就是一整天。但是呢，肯定非常有意义，毕竟是学习嘛。对，我觉得可以留个后路，这算可以留个后路。
因为我们有过
被拒签的经历，所以也是很担心，就是说孩子再去签这个签证的时候被拒签，所以也希望这个移民的政策能够更加的人性化吧。
Students are going to try to go places where they feel like they're welcome, and the United States right now does not seem to welcome international students.
If the students stop going there, the talent pool in the US also reduces. So in 10 years you will see the impact. You won't see it now.
U.S. companies rely very heavily on university graduates as part of the talent pool that they recruit from when they're looking for educated, high-skilled workers. So any policy that's making it harder for foreign students to enroll and subsequently attend U.S. universities actually has an effect not just on the universities, but companies that will hire from these universities in the future.
It's a common pathway for international students to stay on to work in the US. Last year, about 4 in 10 STEM students surveyed said they would stay in the US for up to 3 years after graduation. 3 in 10 plan to stay long term.
Our company was founded by someone who grew up here and someone who is on a visa. One of the smartest people I know.
Ameya Gapuri is a software engineer at Superscript, a fast-growing health AI startup based in New York City. Like many in the tech industry, he came to the US as an international student and later secured an H-1B work visa.
They're here working on interesting problems that will help people. But at the same time, a part of their lives is spent thinking about where they're gonna live. Will their life change a lot?
Kiara Bhagwanji is the head of growth at Superscript. Her job involves expanding the business, a task that could prove difficult if she cannot recruit enough skilled immigrant workers.
I think immigrants are the reason it's competitive in the tech industry globally. I think the statistic that says that nearly 50% of the companies in the Fortune 500 are either run by or founded by immigrants or their children is a compelling figure enough. Former colleague of mine, Julie, pointed out that, even though Trump's slogan is "Make America Great Again," he's more likely with policies like that to make China great again, because those people won't stop pursuing whatever it is that they want to do. They'll go somewhere else where they can do it instead. It just won't be America.
There is a trend experts call a reverse brain drain and warn could have long-term consequences. For example, since 2018, the rate of China-born scientists leaving the US has increased by 75%. A trend which could be accelerated by the current administration's moves on immigration and cut in research funding. As many of researchers brought their expertise back home, China has rapidly closed the innovation gap with the US.
We have to see what the downstream effects would be. If somebody comes to the United States and studies in the United States and then takes that education and skill set and their talents elsewhere, how is that helping the United States?
When the Democrats or media around the world talk about H-1B visas are being limited coming to the United States, no, they're not. They're being grown. There was a whole interview that was done with Elon Musk saying, I talked to President Trump. We need more H-1B visas for that high technical talent. President Trump came out himself and said the H-1B visa is supported by me and under no threat whatsoever.
Beyond the tech and research communities, the anti-immigrant rhetoric has also reached other sectors.
There's a lot of industries in the United States that are seasonal. And as a result, they don't necessarily rely on US workers because they only need people to fill these positions for a limited period of time during the year. There are other industries, for example, nursing, where the United States is actually experiencing a significant and accepted labor shortage. And so there are a lot of industries that need talent from other countries in order for their survival. And then there are some industries that do the type of work that American workers are either unable or unwilling to do. The American Immigration Council actually released a special report and estimated that there would be a loss to the US GDP anywhere between 4% and 6% resulting from this loss of workers. So there is tremendous concern about the economic implications of a mass deportation event.
The migrant workforce is important to a lot of different sectors. And I think we have to find a way forward for that type of workforce. So I think we have to find a way to keep some of those people, as long as they're not a risk to the community, keep them gainfully employed.
Across America, legal challenges have been mounted against deportations. Will the outcome change how America is viewed by Asian migrants? Ishita Mishra works as a copywriter at a newspaper in Mumbai, India. But she has big dreams of being a script writer. And the next step towards this dream will take her to America.
I'll be studying MFA Writing for Screen and Stage at Northwestern University this September, and it's in the US. So I went through the curriculum of the different courses that were available here in India for screenwriting, but I found the curriculum at Northwestern way more comprehensive and way more detailed.
Whatever the discourse around migration, the US remains an attractive destination for students like Ishita. In the Times Higher Education Rankings, 8 of the top universities in the world are American.
The entire process of applying to Northwestern was a bit long, tiring and time-taking. It began with me writing several essays, around 4 to 5 essays, along with letter of recommendations, my CV, everything, and scripts, of course. It is all in a very tiring process, but if you get through, definitely it's worth it.
Likewise, despite his apprehensions on the Trump administration's immigration stance, Chinese national Xiao Xing is still keen to pursue a film degree in America. He will submit a visa application for the US before September.
我觉得就要我说啊，就是如果说他们不用这个法案，反而他们能更宽松一些，能更人性化一些，就是更多人能去美国上大学或者学习。虽然说按照特朗普那脑子来想，肯定就是觉得资源没法这么分配，没法分配给你这么多人亚洲人或者别的州人，因为我们本州人就是我们本国人还得用呢，我们本国人还用这些资源。但是就按照我个人的想法来看，那确实就是最好能放得宽松一点，放得人性化一点。可能这样的话，你美国跟周围就跟其他一些国家的这种关系，可能也能更好一点。
I think the history of the U.S. as a country that provides economic opportunities for immigrants will always be part of its image abroad. But I do think that we're in a precarious juncture. I do think that Americans here at home, leaders here at home, are really going to have to fight to make sure that we don't undermine what this country stands for.
Groups like Asian American Foundation are pushing back against the anti-immigration legislation. Across America, at least 200 legal challenges have been filed against various policy efforts, deportation included.
Let me know how I can support you. I hope things are going okay with your clients. We have to protect the communities that really are the fabric of who we all are, right? And we are going to be willing to stand up to be able to fight against what I think we all think is the erosion of our country.
New polling shows more Americans disapprove of Trump's immigration policies. Across major national surveys in April, a majority of voters now say they oppose his mass deportations and crackdowns on undocumented immigrants, a shift since February. As for international students, there is some reprieve. On April 25th, The Trump administration announced it would reinstate the legal status of hundreds of students whose visa had previously been revoked. But the relief could be temporary. The government is working to craft a new policy that could once again put their status at risk.
It's too risky and uncertain. Any policy changes is really up to the government, where it would do whatever it deems important or is important for their security or to save their own citizen and employment. I am going to stay till March of next year. Every day that passes, I have to think about, okay, so now it's 1 year, it's 11 months, 29 days. It's 11 months, 28 days. So it's like back counting, you're leaving the country. It's scary.
But even if visas were reinstated and entry rules relaxed, the anti-immigrant shift is clear. In speeches, President Trump's office has described migrants crossing the southern border as an invasion, referring to asylum seekers as criminals.
Every day, Americans are safer because of the violent criminals that President Trump's administration is removing from our communities.
Though research shows that migrants in the US commit crimes at a lower rate than citizens, the use of such language can color how Americans view outsiders.
So this has become kind of, the lingua pal of this entire area. Now, what has happened in the last few months is a theory of normalization, especially normalization of hate. This has had a cascading effect across the table, across the board, from top to bottom. This normalization means it's okay to do something that was considered untoward till recently. Before January 20th, you would not speak something like that.
The way that national leaders are talking about immigrants, people are very much going to feel that the problem lays with immigrants, which we know is not the case. Anti-immigrant rhetoric by national leaders, it sort of gives permission for people to sort of target what was a vulnerable population for communities.
As it is, Asians already feel unwelcomed in America. In a 2025 survey by the Asian American Foundation, almost 6 in 10 Asian Americans do not feel they truly belonged in the US.
I think during COVID, because of the spike in anti-Asian hate that has actually been consistent and persistent during the past 5 years, I think is likely to impact educational and economic opportunities that people may be seeking here. And then now with the second administration, people very much feel that the neighborhoods that they're a part of, the cities and country that they're a part of, is no longer there for them, even though they've helped to build local communities and economies. They're afraid that they're somehow going to get targeted because they are an immigrant-owned business. Their workers are afraid to come to work. So we had our small business owners say, like, I haven't been able to get my workers to come out because they're afraid. They themselves are afraid.
President Trump's second term in the White House has crossed the 100-day mark. In the months to come, the impact of his immigration policies on Asia will become clearer as student enrollment numbers and H-1B application data come in. Will America remain the aspiration of many Asian migrants?
The first time that Trump was in office, the New York City comptroller at the time had released a report. And that report showed that for their share of the population, Chinese and Indian immigrants were deported at the highest rates. But no one told that story in the media.
Obviously, we want legal immigration into the United States, but not come in and then use our social services, stay in the hotels, we have to support you. Our tax dollars, my tax dollars, every American's tax dollars being used in that capacity versus for our veterans. It's a bad look to have all the people coming into the United States like that. People don't like it.
Every issue in the United States now is politicized. And that's not particularly healthy in terms of moving society forward. So we will have to wait and see whether American society can find a new equilibrium I would like to think that they will eventually be able to, but it's a process, and as with all things about processes, it can get rocky before things sort of stabilize.
For now, at least, devotees continue to flock to the Hanuman temple in Delhi, praying for their shot at a life abroad.
और ऑब्वियसली एक बेनिफिट हमें बाहर ये मिलता है काम करने से कि बेटर लिविंग स्टैंडर्ड और बेटर लाइफ हमें मिलती है, एंड इन टर्म्स ऑफ सैलरी वो भी ज़्यादा होती है, तो इसलिए मैंने डिसाइड किया कि ठीक है, इफ़ आई एम गेटिंग एन अपॉर्चुनिटी आई शुड गो फॉर इट.